was hanging out with my friend at his house around 9 to 10 p.m. when he watched the door handle go down and the door opened 6 inches. And by that time he got up and checked, like there was nothing there. I already knew there was some kind of entity in his house. So I decided to say, if there are any paranormal entities or ghosts, make your presence known. As we sat silently waiting for a response, I didn't expect to get one. Not even 2 seconds later, though, it sounded like someone was scratching on the door for dear life. To this day, I can't recreate the scratching I heard. The whole room went cold. My body was full of fear, and then the temp went back to normal, and the scratching stopped. My friend immediately got up and opened the door, searched all around, but found nothing. Fast forward a couple nights. I also happen to live a couple houses down from my friends, and I'm lying in bed, wide awake on the 2nd story, trying to fall asleep. When I hear 2 knocks on my window. So like every human, I ran outside with a weapon, but no one was outside. How my house is designed, nothing could have possibly hit my window. Even a human couldn't get up there. A couple nights after this, yet again, at nighttime, this took place. I'm in my living room when I hear what I assume is the entity from a horror movie scream in my neighborhood. The type of scream that sends chills down your spine. Fast forward a couple nights later or something. I'm not good with dates. I'm in my garage chilling when I hear the entity I assume another horror movie scream. Super loud right outside my garage. I sprinted up the stairs so fast my lungs hurt. So bad from going so fast. The knocking, the scratching, and screaming were all terrifying. I should also add, I have no mental illnesses, and my friend was there to witness the scratching after I called the entity out. This is going to be a bit of a lengthy post, so bear with me. I live in an apartment in Pennsylvania. The building is over 100 years old, and it's right next to a funeral home. I've been here and never had any strange experience up until the last couple of weeks. I should also note I have a child that lives with me half the time, and the other half she's with her mom. On my night while I was drifting off to sleep, I started feeling onset of sleep paralysis. All my limbs were going stiff, and I started to feel pinned down. Luckily, I was able to snap myself out of it. The closest thing to ground myself, which was my phone. I was able to sleep fine after that. Then maybe a week later, my daughter is asleep in her room, which connects to my bedroom through a doorway that sits directly across from my bed. I woke up and saw the silhouette of a child standing against the wall next to the door frame for where my daughter's room would be. It was just the black mass darker than the room with no face or limbs or hair, and it just stood there like it was staring at me. Her door was still closed, and the figure was on the side that would be covered by the door if it were open. I was definitely freaked out, but chose to ignore it, turned my gaze away from it, and went back to sleep. When I woke up again, a couple hours later, it was gone like nothing ever happened. Fast forward a few days, my girlfriend and I are at a flea market, and I run into a medium selling her wares and talking to people. I told her what I was experiencing, and she looked concerned and told me to cleanse my apartment by burning sage. She also gave me a small vial of holy oil to put on my front entrance to keep bad spirits away. She also wanted me to put some on my daughter's forehead to protect her. The next day, my girlfriend and I go to the apartment and do the cleanse. While I was cleansing a room, my girlfriend was waiting in the kitchen, which is next to the front door. My girlfriend and I suddenly both hear the door slam itself shut. We actually saw it happen. But after that, my apartment has felt more peaceful, and I no longer get a bad vibe. I do plan on moving out ASAP, though, for different reasons. When I was around 8 years old, my parents were renting out this house. It was a very nice one-story house at the time, as we lived there for about 3 years. We were not living in a very bad time, however. Today, looking back at the memories in that house, it was definitely haunted. My mother even admits it to this day that something wasn't right in that house. I have multiple crazy instances in that house and how sketchy that place was. Multiple toys turned on in the middle of the night by themselves. I remember all the toys that turned on to this day. One of the toys was an old music box that was my great-grandma's, and the other was a Christmas puppy that would sing up on the housetop. Looking back as a kid, those things never bothered me. For some reason, I couldn't sleep in my room, ever. Another time I experienced some weird crap was when I was asleep. My mom and dad were out in the back having a drink, and my sister, who was about 2 at the time, was being watched by my parents while she was playing with her toys inside. The door was shut. My sister started to cry for some reason, eventually started choking on her saliva, not in a harmful way, and my parents couldn't seem to get the sliding door opened. Well, that was because the wooden stick that was lodged in the door was down in the crevice. We used the wood stick every night just in case anyone tried to intrude or break in. The thing is, we don't know how the stick got in the door. My sister was playing the whole time nowhere near the end of the door. My parents were freaking out. Went to the side of the house and started pounding on my bedroom window. I could not wake up. They were pounding for a good solid 2 minutes with loud bangs. I am a very light sleeper and always have been. I'll wake up to a quiet alarm easily. I think I had some sort of energy around me to where I couldn't hear anything. They had to break a window with a chair to get her and unlock the door. But that wasn't the scariest thing that happened. I had 2 cousins over, and they were sleeping in my room. I had a trundle bed, or however you say it. We slept with the door closed and fell asleep to some cartoons. By this time, we're all asleep, and I hear a loud bang coming from my door that woke me up instantly. What I woke up to next is the scariest things I have ever seen or been through to this day. Standing in the middle of my door was an angry brunette woman in a white dress. It was the angriest face I have ever seen. I was screaming for my parents and shut my eyes for a few seconds, hoping she would leave, and she did. I ended up crying and sleeping in my parents' room that night. Now, I don't know if it was a real dream or not. The door was opened. I closed it before going to sleep. If it was a dream, then it would have been the realest dream. I remember the setting perfectly. She was literally in my doorway in my room, and everything was the same. It was horrifying. Me personally, I don't think it was a dream. That house had something evil in there. Does anyone have answers for what exactly this could be? It wasn't an animal or cat. It woke my mom up, but she was wide awake when it was happening and not hallucinating, etc. When she heard hissing from inside her closet like something was trying to get out. Her son that lives with her also says he always hears knocking at night. The closet's doors are mirrors. Mirrors and closets are said to be portals. The house in the area does have some history. The area was part of an old town that was totally destroyed by a tornado in the 1800s. And her son also saw a full-body apparition of a man sitting on his bed. This happened many years ago. Does anyone know what this could be? My first thought was a demon, but looking for more in-depth explanations or type of demon entities, etc. Any and all answers and suggestions are very, very much appreciated. Edit. When I said my first thought was a demon, I mean if it's paranormal. Obviously, we're checking for animals and checking for pipe. My first literal thought was a demon. People on Reddit are mostly just vile human beings, but I very much appreciate the few sincere comments. Thanks. I don't know much about this guy, and I don't know if this man is good, bad, or neutral. My sister just told me about this a couple of days ago, and I wanted to post here to see if anyone knows anything. My sister a decade ago said she started to see a man in a top hat in her mirror at night sometimes. No face, all black, definitely a man with a top hat. Around this time, she was playing with Ouija boards, not closing them out, experimenting with drugs, psychedelics, and coke and weed, and being just reckless. She told me she'd see him at night in the mirror, especially on her bad nights. To this day, she says she still sees him, although she's moved now 4 to 5 times. It only takes a bit before she starts seeing him in the mirror at night. My sister also hasn't had any improvement in her life. It's actually much worse. Was a decade ago, unfortunately. She also told me she was having a sleepover with one of her female friends once, a few years ago, who got up to pee, and she said she saw him in the mirror, but thought it was a dream. My question is, does anyone know anything about this man or have any experience with him? I found out I'm not the only one who has saw a lady in my dad's house. So, my dad's family aren't even believers. They're all strong Catholics, mostly. But almost everyone in the house admits they've heard or saw something in the house. Most of us conclude that it's possibly the spirits of my grandparents, who both died in the home and whose ashes are spread in the garden on a rose bush. This is fine. I've also experienced odd or creepy things and have since I was young. Some things I can't explain and some things I fully admit was probably just something else. But when I was in my preteens and younger, I would sleep on my cousin's bedroom floor. My dad stays with my aunt. The bedroom faces a long hallway which leads to stairs. Occasionally, I'd wake up in the night and see what I always thought was a short lady in a long dress holding a tray. All she does is walk downstairs. That's all. I loved horror and ghost shows when I was younger and always just assumed it was my brain regurgitating info I had heard on my TV. Earlier this year, me and that same cousin echoes floor I'd slept on for years found out after doing a bit of Googling that the block of the houses my dad's place is on, the land used to be a factory or something like that. Anyway, last night rolled around and ghosts came into convo between me and my cousin and her boyfriend after he had mentioned seeing and hearing things in the nursing home. I mentioned as a joke I used to think I'd see a lady walk down our stairs, and my cousin looked at me, and her eyes widened and she stood up. She started saying how she always saw it too, and she swears to God sometimes she would see her at the bottom of the stairs also. I'm not really thinking anything deeper of it. Just thought it was cool that I'm not the only person who had saw the same woman.
got my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross